Hello everybody, Skyrain here, back again with another Diablo Immortal video. This is Halloween, Halloween for Diablo Immortal now, finally, on the patch notes for this week. Like I said before, I wanted to wait until this week. They did post them last week, but I was hoping that there was going to be more meat in the sandwich, as I've said, and fortunately enough, there was. We have a little bit of extra flavor to go along with two meager pieces of bread in the patch notes this time around, so let's go ahead and get into it here. The Blizzard notes here on the left, and the NetEase notes will be on the right-hand side for a comparison. I will put some specifics on the screen that we'll get into in here in a little bit, but before we get into that, because there is a thing that make sure you all are on the way of finishing off here, and that is the Season of the Harvest. The monthly event center that we had is going to be ending when the new patch goes live after the 15th of this month. So be sure to get your last points in, of which I myself currently have to complete a few more tasks here. Fractured Plane's good enough. I have to finish off a couple of these, which is the start of the week, which is perfect for doing the bounties and such for points. For now that we are on Immortals yet again. Fun, the usual fare, that kind of thing. And of course the Abyssal Verge, and I did the Airbound already, the Abyssal Verge. This one I will, little side note before we get into the notes here, the 3-minute thing is just kind of dumb, but whatever. Nonetheless, it's still 20 points, so yeah. But anyway, make sure you get your monthly event center in, because in the patch notes, which we will come across here shortly, soon enough, let's get into it. There's a new monthly event center after the patch, after we get the update this week. So there you go. I just wanted to cover that real quick, just in case you might not be aware or forgot about it, and try to get your last minute hits in on what are the things you need to. Okay. So we get the same as we did last year for a lot of these events in the Halloween aspect. We get the Hallow's Wake. We have the Crone that will be in West March. Before, it was a lot more fun in a sense because you had to go more on a treasure hunt for the Crone. She would be in different safe zones, but then they finally just reserved her into West March, and that's it. But nonetheless, pretty typical events to do to complete for that. You turn the tokens into the Crone, and you get various gifts, of course, of which here are the temporary, the glorious temporary cosmetics for the Halloween season. It's a shame that we can't keep these all year long instead, but whatever, here they are. That's what they look like if you don't already know, if you haven't done this before. Okay, so there they are on the screen. Going further down, whenever we get to something that needs to be cross-referenced, I'll go ahead and move the Chinese notes down further, but for now it stands. Treasure Goblin Scuttle Abound. Okay, so there's new goblin types that's going to occur. So during this time frame of October 15th to October 29th, which is shown in the NetEase notes, this is going to happen with these new goblin types. We have a Myth Stealer, which will drop set items. Malevolent Tormentor drops legendary equipment. The Gem Hoarder drops gems. Now, the thing about the gems one is it is still within the realm of your weekly cap. So it's not extra. You'll just be getting your weekly cap sooner. And further on down the patch note list, I'll make mention of it now, along those same lines for the weekly cap on your weekly gems, we're getting Winds of Fortune yet again. So take your pick however you want to complete them. You're going to be capping your weekly gems off really, really quick once all these events go into effect. Okay? So, and then we have the Odious Collector, which drops flowing shards and other salvage. And then the Draft Gatherer, which drops rhodolite and crafting materials. So that one's kind of cool if you didn't get them from the iron or the mining nodes throughout the open world and things of that nature from terrorists and such. Just a little extra added thing there. So that one's actually nice for the rhodolite. because I feel like sometimes that gets hung up and we don't get it as fast as we could. So it's nice to add it in for that one. All right, and then it says keep a keen eye for increased treasure goblins. While they spawn randomly in overworld zones and dungeons, there's a chance to activate special goblins, and that will proc a portal to the Diablo 4 boss is returning yet again for this event. Avarice, or Avarice, however you want to call him. The Gold Cursed. So, yeah. And they made improvements supposedly to this boss fight, so it's going to be a little bit more difficult, so to speak, anyway. We know what difficult means in this one. Once you have the combat rating, we just pretty much just massacre everything in the game in a blink of an eye. But nonetheless, it's nice to see that they said they tweaked them a little bit. And they says it has been made gilded with several improvements. His iconic portal dash has been restored alongside several other minor optimizations and adjustments to his other skills. This should make him a more formidable and engaging fight to conquer. Well, that remains to be seen, per usual. Again, it'll probably be over in a blink of an eye. But still, nonetheless, hopefully it'll be a lot more like the world boss in Diablo 4. But I don't know. Once they've implemented them over to the Diablo Immortal side, as we've seen with Ashava and the Elder Rifts, they've been reduced to kind of a laughing stock of their former selves. But nonetheless, anyway, continuing on here. Moon Children's Ceremony. This is basically the new event center right here with all the events and times that we're going to get them. The usual standard fare of repeating events, Trail of a Horde Conqueror, which we just had this past weekend. Things of that sort. Fractured Plane, which is, I think, ending as of this recording today soon. So, and this was in the last event center, mind you, as well. It's coming back around towards the end of the month. Wild Brawl, the usual stuff, and of course the total rewards for finishing the event center all the way through, listed here all at once. So it makes it look like it's pretty cool, but in the grand scheme of things, where we are at this stage in the game, some of these things need to be upped a little bit more, but they're still, all these events are still basic, catering to newer players, and that's how they always were, and that's how they always will be, it seems. Which is unfortunate, but it is what it is. Season 45 Battle Pass. We're getting a new Battle Pass here in this update soon. This one we are currently on will be going on for the rest of the week, so you still have some time to add some stuff into that one. And sometime at the early part of next week is when we will get the new Battle Pass in effect. So that's what this one is. There is the Winds of Fortune. The Winds of Fortune, again, plan accordingly, however works best for you to make your most out of your daily party gem acquiring. Again, most people tend to, I personally as well, but I'll do it a day later, just because I got things that are more important on the weekend to do, so I'll miss out on that and covering it as well. But nonetheless, skip 2 days of party activities for party gems. That way you get the 3-day mechanic in effect. On the 3rd day, you will pop the Winds of Fortune buff because it is a 24-hour real-time. It will not freeze when you go offline. It stays active. So plan accordingly. Weekends do work best for most, like I said. So, and then you can activate it. Usually a lot of people do it on Sunday, activate it on Sunday, and then they do their weekly gems faster that way. The weekly gems do not double, they just gather quicker, and then they go and it'll carry over into Monday when they activate the buff, and then get the next week's weekly gems knocked out fast, and again another stack of extra party gems. So that is one way to approach Winds of Fortune. That is pretty much the best thing to get out of this event. The other stuff is nice. Extra legendary drops and such can be nice, but that's RNG on the stats, of course, as we all know. So anyway, there is that event and things to go about and how to maximize it. Blessed Hunter event. We're finally getting the one that the Chinese servers have had. They are doing the beta testing anymore for a lot of these events that we will eventually see here on Global. They get them first, which sucks, but whatever. So this one here is, now this one, It sounds good, but it also sounds kind of how we get set items usually anyway. It's just now they're assigning little stars to them. There's supposed to be a rolling event that occurs whenever a set item drops. And I was like, well, that's RNG anyway, right? So forgive me if I'm wrong on this, but that's exactly what this sounds like. And what also makes this kind of bad is this one doesn't go on as near as long as the previous Set Hunter event that we have that will end on the 15th when this one goes up. We had the other Set Hunter one on for a very, very long time in comparison to this one. This one's only running from the 15th of October to November 3rd, so half a month. Way shorter than the other one was. But nonetheless, hopefully this will actually give us some good things. And there are some definite quality of life upgrades to this along the way. So this happens, and also we will get a combat rating change. So that will help our pre-farming out immensely across the board for everybody now, I think, at this point, even free to play as myself as well, which is always the hardest for us to gain that extra amount of combat rating. No matter what we do, it is always that much harder for us to get because inherently, and this has been a topic discussed in the Immortal Discord about the legendary gems, the main ones that get ranked up all the way that whales do. They get a large amount of, well, a significant, I don't want to say a large, but a significant amount of combat rating that adds up in those gems, the main ones that is. So as a free-to-play low spender, you really don't see the benefit of that as much. So we are still, of course, the ones that will finally get into the pre-farming stages last, but that's just how it goes. That's how, the extra kick to the whales goes. That's just how it is. Pay to win. That's what they get. That's how it always will be. So the argument that some people are saying that they want to have that removed from the combat rating removed from legendary gems, I like the idea to an extent, but I also understand that that should have been done at the very outset instead of now, because that kind of retracts from all the expenditures made from the whales and such. But anyway, back around the topic here. But yeah, this event here for the set items, each item can be blessed up to 4 times, it says, increasing the item quality by adding more attributes or magic properties, increasing attribute value, or converting the set item into another set of your choice. So these supposedly take place as soon as the item drops. These are all chances, mind you, as well. So there's still RNG across the board. So I don't know if this merely makes it sound like we're getting benefited effects or not, or it's adding more to what we already have in the aspect of RNG every day that we've had up to this point anyway. So I don't know. It sounds like it could be a good thing. It sounds like it could be a better thing. We'll just have to wait and see this in actual practice, because for right now, just reading it as it stands, it sounds, too good to be true, which it usually is. And it also at the same time sounds like what occurs organically with the RNG factor already. So be that as it may, when a set item drops, it automatically rolls 4 times, like it says here, displaying the fully identified item. So that's a plus, honestly. So it'll automatically drop like the set hunter that we currently had. It will be identified already. So then once you make it to the salvage guy at the end, you can be like, yeah, this is a piece of crap. Give me the wisps. And just salvage it just the same. It'll be already identified. So that's always on the plus side. And honestly, at this point, I'd like to see the set pieces do that no matter what, whenever they drop, to be automatically identified. So we can be like, oh, wisp, no wisp. That is the question. And salvage it before we leave the dungeon and keep going on and on and on. Let's see. Additionally, you can check your log, it says here, to in your chat channels to see a breakdown of what blessings of the item you received. But then again, we're the ones to make that judgment call anyway, and we will know which pieces we like and which pieces we don't. So that's kind of an extra added point that's there. Sounds nice, but is unnecessary, I feel. All right, here we go. This is the funny part here. Changes to Inferno 7, 8, and 9. So like I said, they adjusted the combat rating when this patch goes live, and then we're all off to the races into pre-farming Inferno 9 wisps all over again. Fun, fun. The usual cyclical grind as far as the ARPG elements go in these kind of games. But I did want to point this out, and it's in the thumbnail. This is pretty hilarious, and people have already pointed this out in the Diablo Immortal Discord and the Blizzard patch notes at the very, very top. Yeah, there's this thing here. It says, we are increasing the combat rating it takes to reach Inferno 7, 8, and 9. Worded very, very poorly. That is the complete opposite of what is actually taking place here. Of course, they are decreasing it. They have time-gated this for the past couple updates now, and this has become the standard status quo that we've had going forward and will continue to have. They're waiting until we get the last update before the server Paragon will reach the next difficulty up, and then they adjust it down. This is literally just a time-gating mechanic to slow the speed that we were clearing stuff before. It was ever so slight, mind you, but it was still, it's still been noticed ever since they did this, only for, obviously, content reasons. There's only so much that they can keep up with anymore, and we were, especially the whales, were definitely burning through stuff to the next difficulty, farming stuff up way, way ahead of time, and here we are, still nonetheless. But anyway, I don't know. It was their choice. It was a development choice, and that's where we're at with this, so I just wanted to... If you didn't already know, if you're coming into the game later on, if you didn't know this already, this is where we're at now. This is what we had before, and this is what we've come to expect now, which is unfortunate. But it's just comical, per usual, with Blizzard, because they also took their usual 2.5 to almost 3 hours later before they were able to throw out their patch notes that NetEase already had at the ready and waiting. So, yeah. That's been what the past couple updates has been as far as Blizzard goes. They're behind, and they don't have them up at the same time anymore. Is what it is. Is what it is. But yeah, that's pretty comical. But nonetheless, everything still applies here. Let me go ahead and move this up so you can see what really matters, because here's Inferno 9. The number values do go same. The Blizzard notes did break it down by raid bosses, which is kind of an interesting take. But then you also have open world dungeons and challenge dungeons listed as well. And as you can see here, let's match it up with the NetEase notes. The most important ones, of course, are the open world dungeons is at 50,000. It will be at 50,600 after this update goes live. The challenge dungeons will be 51,320, which should be good for pretty much the vast majority of us who have been staying on top of things anyway. So this is a nice welcome change. Looking forward to that happening. So another side note for the Chinese patch notes, the NetEase patch notes, that got left out in this current rendition. It was in the previous Blizzard notes, so they just chose not to put it in this current week's set. But we are getting the usual Werewolf Among Us sus event activity in the game for the Halloween as well, which a lot of people had a lot of fun with. Again, this is one to be better experienced with clanmates, friends, things of that nature in voice chat, I do believe, instead of the generic in-game options. This would make it a much more fun activity. So if you got a bunch of friends you want to get together for, have a weekend event of it. And safely, you can also have a drinking event of it. But like I said, be responsible. Just, disclaimer, of course, per usual. But that is also another option. So choose to partake in that however you want. And better enjoy that activity instead of just being as generic as it is. Yeah. So that's the best way, I think, to go about doing that, the werewolf event that we get for Halloween. But anyway. Okay, back over to the Blizzard stuff some more. Again, more attempts at making familiar conversions. All they're doing is showing you the conversion stones, whether you use them or not. And honestly, it still doesn't change anything. it still doesn't change anything for the better. The whole system is still convoluted as all hell, and has been since they introduced it to all of us, and I think it just needs an overhaul still in general and completely redone for what it is. But then again, for all those that put in the time and the effort and the money to get where they're at now with their current pets and so on and so forth, of course there's always going to be that conflict. So we're kind of stuck with this system, or unfortunately. If everybody was cool with the fact that saying, hey, we're going to revamp this system and make it easier for everybody, if those that spent all the resources and money are cool with that, that would be great, because this whole system is just honestly a big joke. It needs to be redone. We are getting new essences. We're getting new essences along the way here. It will be the next update that we get for Inferno 9 essences, so looking forward to those when they happen. But just so you know and be aware, October 29th is when that's going to occur. And then, of course, our loyalty points will go into legacy loyalty points on the swap per usual, which is whatever. Here we go. This is the last little bit here. At the top is the NetEase notes. They say, exciting events, legendary equipment blessing. And then the bottom notes on here is from Blizzard saying, region-specific update. There's an item drop blessing. We are working on a new daily bonus event based around item drops, which will come in the form of a daily 1-hour blessing. The blessing enhances the quality of item drops, the chance to obtain legendary items, and an option to earn items for another class. This feature will be tested in China, of which you can see above, and how long that's going to be going on for as well. The duration of the event that they are they're doing this in China first. They get it from the 15th for this update all the way through the middle of December. So they get it for 2 months. They get this event ongoing for 2 months before we can even see this on global. I think a month testing was long enough, honestly. That we would have been nice to see this. We will probably see it then. Looks like about mid-December. So be that as it may, it is what it is. But that's what it is. And also how this works. Let's see, during the event, as we can see here in the Chinese notes at the top, roughly translated, benefits when you defeat monsters, obtain legendary equipment, higher chance of obtaining high quality equipment with multiple bonus attributes and magical properties, a higher chance of obtaining unowned legendary essences, and a certain chance of obtaining legendary equipment for a specific class. Once activated, the blessing will begin to take effect. So I think we have the option to choose when to activate this at our leisure, which is glorious. It's not like randomized when you log in the game, it's automatically. No, you can activate it whenever is best for you. And let's see, and automatically increasing, once activated, it will begin taking its effect, automatically increasing its duration by 1 hour at the daily reset for a maximum of 7 cumulative hours. So if you don't activate it, there is a chance, from what this sounds like, it sounds like it will build up into a maximum of 7 hours total you can have this blessing running for. And it says you can also manually activate or deactivate the blessing, and it will automatically deactivate after you've gone offline, but it has a delay to that. So once we get this, which I'll make sure to, revisit this point whenever we get it, right before that patch, you're going to want to deactivate it yourself so you don't lose out on any time. And then, put it on pause. And then once you go back into the game, the next time or whatever else, you can reactivate it again and you're back off to the races. 7-hour cumulative possibility on this one. So I think this sounds pretty good. And it's a daily thing that you can do for the Power Hour. I'll refer to this as the Power Hour. That is the new title we're going to give this, the Power Hour in Diablo Immortal. So there you go. Unfortunately, of course, though, we don't see it till practically the end of the year. But anyway, have fun over there in China. Of course, you get all the stuff before we do, and enjoy, I guess. But anyway, nonetheless, let me know what you think in the comments down below about all things discussed here. What are you most looking forward to? If you're a newer player, of course, the Halloween events will be something different to do for those of us that have already had them previously. Unfortunately, nothing really new there. Oh, I almost forgot. They're bringing this back to the mall, the shop. It says the mall on the NetEase notes. The cosmetics. There's this cosmetic coming back around that was in the game previously before, and it also now supports the druid class as well. So it's been updated. They're bringing this back, so that's good. That's a step in the right direction for those people that like the cosmetics. There's always this complaint still to this day about, even when like Blood Knight got introduced, or Tempest got introduced, or Druid got introduced, there was always cosmetics that did not be made specifically for those newer classes because they were from previous. So now this one has made its way back around, so hopefully that will give hope to other ones coming back around as well and being kitted out for the newer classes that weren't before. So there's that. That was left out in the Blizzard notes as well. All right, and then that'll do it, finally. Sorry, thank you for hanging in there all this time. I hopefully appreciate everything being cross-referenced and all that kind of thing here. Let me know what you think in the comments down below, as always, and per usual. Thank you for your time, and stay safe out there in the real world on fire. As always, take care of yourselves as best you can, one day at a time. It is all we can do. It is the best we can do for sure. Until next time, see ya.